Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So I was going to talk about something else, but I really wanted to talk about this topic with the Indiana Pacers because it's something that I think we all need to get on the same page about. And it's really about the entire team. It's not necessarily one thing, but I wanted to talk about it because there's been a lot of things going around. A lot of people have been saying, you know, what do the Pacers do at this point? Do they trade Aaron Nesmith and Benedict Mathurin for somebody? Or do they, what do they re-sign Pascal Siakam to, right? I made a mistake in the last video, thinking that Miles Turner and TJ McConnell have player options for this upcoming year. They don't. They're just regular, like they're under contract for another year, the both of them. The thing is, you have to re-sign TJ McConnell and Miles Turner at some point. I want to talk about a couple things with that as well, because there seems to be a lot of people that appear to be 50-50 on that, which is a little shocking to me. It's not outside of the realm to say that it's crazy, but at the same time, to me, it feels a little crazy as somebody who was a huge Miles Turner hater for a long time. I'm actually going to be defending Miles Turner in this video, which is kind of insane. Like, I never thought I'd be saying I'm defending Miles Turner, but here we are. We're defending Miles Turner. So, first and foremost, I want to talk about the exit interviews for Tyrese Halliburton. Who was the other one? Benedict Mathurin and the GM Chad Buchanan. I wanted to talk about these things because I watched all of them all the way through on my lunch break today. And a couple things really stood out to me. The first being in Chad Buchanan's interview, he talked about how impactful Obi Toppin has been. And it sounds an awful lot like they're gonna bring back Obi Toppin. Now, I, for one, am not a fan of that move, mostly because of the defense. I don't know what a good number is for Obi Toppin for the Pacers. I honestly, if they could get him for 4 years, $45 million, or 4 years, $40 million, in that ballpark. I think he deserves more money than Aaron Nesmith? No. I think Aaron Nesmith is a better player. I think Aaron Nesmith is like his 4 years, $33 million is a bargain contract by today's NBA standards. I wholeheartedly believe that Aaron Nesmith is a better basketball player than DeAndre Hunter, and DeAndre Hunter makes double what Aaron Nesmith is making. Like, DeAndre Hunter is making like $22 million plus a year, whereas Aaron Nesmith's making about 11. So I think Aaron Nesmith is not only a great player, but a great bargain contract for this team. Obi Toppin, I don't really know a number for him. Like, the part of me thinks somebody's going to overpay for him, and another part of me thinks, like, we might be able to snag him up for less than $40 million. You know, 4 years, $35 million, 4 years, $37 or $38 million, in that ballpark. Anywhere north of $45 million seems like an overpay for Obi Toppin. I can't believe I'm saying that, but he's a very good player. He's fun to watch. The three-point shot really came into light this past season when he got an opportunity. He played 82 games, all 82 games, which is shocking. Like that's like a badge of honor in itself in today's NBA. But Obi Toppin's a guy that as a Pacers fan, I feel like we can do better than Obi Toppin. But if the Pacers bring him back at this point, I kind of understand. So that was the first thing with Chad Buchanan, is the idea that it sounds like Chad Buchanan and the front office is really interested in bringing Obi Toppin back. Chad Buchanan had nothing but nice things to say about Obi Toppin. However, I will say this, he did not say anything about Jalen Smith, and Jalen Smith played very, very well this year. So I'm almost 100% positive Jalen Smith is not coming back. You know, Chad Buchanan pretty much praised everybody on the roster except for Jalen Smith. So, if I were a betting man, I'm going to say Jalen Smith is gone. I think we all kind of knew that to begin with, but he's got a $5 million player option for next year, and he's going to decline it. Like, it's very obvious he's going to decline it. Why take $5 million a year when somebody else will easily offer you $9 to $10 million a year? You know, at this point, like Jalen Smith is at a point where he can bet on himself in free agency and he's going to get paid, you know, so that's where he's at. The next thing I want to talk about is Tyrese Halliburton's exit interview, which sounded really, really positive. You know, Tyrese Halliburton made it sound like he's going to champion bringing back Pascal Siakam, it seems. Now, getting into that, I guess you could say, it was nice to see Tyrese Halliburton really praise Pascal Siakam, you know, how much he enjoyed playing for us this year and how far the team got and everything. Tyrese Halliburton has even this year alone has matured a lot, even from a personality standpoint, you can kind of tell. But I will say this kind of segues into one of the other topics I had for this video, and that is, what do we pay Pascal Siakam? Because I'm going to say this, I'm very 50-50 on this, and the reason I say that is because a lot of people seem to be thinking that Pascal Siakam is going to get like a super max deal, like I think the number was 5 years, $245 million. Here's the thing. I do not think he's worth that. And I will die on this fucking hill. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong. Pascal Siakam has been fucking phenomenal. Okay? He has been a great player. He provides almost like a shot-making post presence that this team didn't have before him. He gets out and runs the break. He rebounds. He passes the ball. Yes, his offense could be not even his offense. His handling could be a little bit more polished at times. When it comes to the three-point shot, Pascal Siakam wasn't too bad. You know what I'm saying? For us, when he got traded to us, you know, he played 41 games for us, and in the 41 games that he played for us, he shot 38% from three. The problem is, and this is my honest thought on this. The problem I have with this is Pascal Siakam barely averages 22 points a game, and people are out here talking like we're going to max him out at basically $250 million. That's Steph Curry money. That's franchise player money. Okay. And while Pascal Siakam is very good and did a lot for us this year, since we traded for him, I do not, under any circumstance, think he's going to get paid that much money. That would put the Indiana Pacers in salary cap space hell, which they're already flirting with a little bit. I honestly think it would definitely put us over the first apron, and you're close to touching the second apron at that point. The thing is, Pascal Siakam is a guy who is very good, but is he a guy that's going to single-handedly take you to the playoffs? No, and I feel like that's what the Supermax is reserved for. I feel like the Supermax is reserved for players that, you know, like a Tyrese Halliburton, like a Jalen Brunson, Trae Young. As much as I don't think he's worth what he's getting paid, he's only had one decent playoff run in his career. But I think that amount of money is reserved for guys that, by just having them on your team, makes you a playoff team. And I don't think Pascal Siakam is that type of player. I do not think Pascal Siakam is a 1A type of player. I definitely think he's a 1B type of player. And because of that, I do not think Pascal Siakam is going to get 5 years, $245 million. If the front office does that, I understand Siakam's very good, and I understand that you have to overpay some guys in order to keep them around, but $245 million over 5 years for Pascal Siakam is not just a minor overpay. It is a massive overpay. You know, like Julius Randle is a guy who is not making a whole hell of a lot of bread. I mean, he's a max contract player, but if we're talking $200+ million, I simply don't see it. I understand that there's a lot of Pacers fans out there that seem to think that Pascal Siakam is going to get paid that amount of money because, you know, oh, well, he's not going to take less money. I find that very hard to believe. I find it very hard that Pascal Siakam is going to take more money than he's worth. You know, I really think I think Pascal Siakam understands where he is, and I do think the $245 million number comes from Like, being the best player on a team that is absolute dog shit. Like, that's where I think that mentality and that number comes from. Same thing with Paul George, to be honest with you. You know, like, I feel like if you're a player of an all-star level caliber, or at least an all-NBA caliber player, if you're playing for a dog shit team, yeah, you're probably going to rip their eyes out for cash because you're not going to win, so I might as well get paid. Like, that's kind of what I think about when I think of this. And it's also, Pascal Siakam seems to really enjoy playing for the Pacers, especially he advocated for years, I mean years, for the Toronto Raptors to trade for Miles Turner. Okay, and now instead, vice versa happened. You know, Pascal Siakam got traded to Miles Turner's team. So I think if it means bringing back Miles Turner, which it definitely is, like, that's another part of this that I feel like fans are forgetting. Miles Turner needs to be extended by the trade deadline of next year. And the same thing with TJ McConnell. If they're not extended by then, they're going to enter unrestricted free agency. And that is not something I think the Pacers want for either of those players. So if Pascal Siakam taking less money means that we're going to bring back TJ McConnell and Miles Turner, I'm almost thinking he's going to do it. I honestly think he'd be fucking stupid not to do it. He's got, this would be his second max contract in his career. He's going to be getting paid a boatload of money. So, and honestly, if he wants $245 million over the course of 5 years, I hate to say this, but I definitely think that would mean Pascal Siakam is a sign and trade guy. And even if you give him that amount of money, there's no guarantees that a team is going to trade for him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he might be a great player, but when you put like a $40 or $50 million a year price tag on a guy like that, usually you struggle to trade him. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you look at guys like Trae Young. I mean, look at Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard was a guy that just signed a ridiculous contract with the Portland Trailblazers like a year before they traded him, and it was like borderline impossible to trade him. So all I'm saying is a lot of people are like, getting their nose up in the air about how much money Pascal Siakam's going to make. I think if the front office explains it to him, like, listen, this is what we think you're worth, and the reason we came to you with this figure is because we need to bring back Miles Turner and we need to bring back TJ McConnell. If you want to win another championship before you retire, this has got to happen. And I feel like if that's, and if Tyrese Halliburton's in on that as well, I don't think Pascal Siakam's going to have any problem with that. I could be wrong. I would be shocked if I was wrong, but I think if it means bringing back Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam gets to continue to play with Miles Turner, I don't see how Pascal Siakam is going to be greedy about that. I simply don't. This was the situation he wanted to be in. He's playing with a guy that he wanted to play with. To lose it all for money and potentially not win a ring simply just doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it makes sense to Pascal Siakam or the front office either. So that also segues into the next topic of Miles Turner. A lot of people have been saying that we shouldn't bring back Miles Turner. I've seen it way more than I thought I would, especially with, the idea that I thought Miles Turner played a whole hell of a lot better when they acquired Pascal Siakam. Yes, the three-point shooting did dip a little bit. Like, his three-point shooting wasn't great, but we saw in the playoffs that Miles Turner can still shoot threes. He still stretches the floor. He's still a valuable player. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm like, Miles Turner's a guy that we have to bring back. There's not a lot of guys in the NBA that play the center position as well as him. Yes, you could maybe try to acquire a Jared Allen, a player like that. But if you trade Miles Turner, in turn, you're just going to piss off Pascal Siakam. Because Siakam, the whole reason for him trying to force his way to Indiana was so he could play with Miles Turner. A lot of people don't know that, but Pascal Siakam has wanted to play with Miles Turner for years. So the idea that he finally gets that opportunity, it's just like, this is something that I just think, like, when it comes to Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam, I think two things are going to be true. One, Pascal Siakam is coming back, and two, he's going to come back for less money so that we can bring back Miles Turner. And Miles Turner is simply not going to get traded at this point. We're seeing Miles Turner finally, throw down some dunks in the paint. He's being more aggressive down low. If we can get Miles Turner just to fucking rebound a little bit better and box out, like, there's nothing there but upside at this point. You know, I kind of thought we saw all we were going to see with Miles Turner over the past 9 years, but the fact of the matter is he's gotten better. And you know what? Miles Turner is finally putting up double-doubles. That's all I wanted out of him, and we're finally getting that. So I know there's a very vocal crowd out there, and I used to be a part of it, that doesn't want Miles Turner to come back. But I personally, I'm of the band camp of, like, yeah, we got to keep Miles Turner. So, and that's a lot coming from me. If some of you guys are longtime subscribers, you know I fucking hated Miles Turner. I thought Miles Turner was the 13-7 average Joe bench center that is only, he's a role player who's starting on a bad team. That's what I thought about Miles Turner for a long fucking time. Well, we're not a bad team anymore, and he's been getting better ever since we traded for Siakam. So as a Pacers fan, I'm sorry if you have a different opinion, but Miles Turner is a guy that I think we absolutely have to keep at this point. Unless we get offered like Joel Embiid or, I don't know, Jared Allen even, you know, like, unless we get offered some center that is like, at least I think better than Miles Turner, we have to keep him. You know, and honestly, I'd be very shocked if they traded Miles Turner at this point. We've waited a very long time to get back to this point of the Eastern Conference Finals. Fucking with team chemistry like that, where the guy you just traded for really, really likes Miles Turner, I feel like that would just fuck up any team chemistry we had going in the second half of the year from the All-Star break on. Plus, all the experience they gained as a unit during the playoffs, to me, would just be null and void at that point. Now, the last thing I do want to talk about is Bennedict Mathurin's exit interview, because I think we all know at this point Bennedict Mathurin is a star in the making. There's been some people on YouTube suggesting potentially trading Bennedict Mathurin plus Aaron Nesmith for a guy like Brandon Ingram or Jimmy Butler or even Paul George. You know, there's been some OG Anunoby conversations, some Mikal Bridges conversation as well. I'm going to be honest, I don't think the Pacers move on from either of those guys. You know, I've been saying this for a while, and I've said it in a lot of my past videos during the playoffs, that, like, the Indiana Pacers got this far without Bennedict Mathurin. And Bennedict Mathurin, in his exit interview, I was very shocked about this, but he acknowledged that he needs to improve on defense. And, you know, and I was so glad to hear that, because Ben Mathurin's one of those guys that I was a little worried about. I'm like, yo, does he seem to think, like, you know, offense is all that needs to be played? But no, in the exit interview, he addressed it. He was like, you know, I need to get better at the defensive end of the floor. And, you know, it's funny because he's said, you know, like, I take screenshots. I spend a lot of time on Twitter. He's like, I screenshot things and I watch them before games and all that. So, you know, I'm happy with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that Bennedict Mathurin is acknowledging, like, that there's holes in his game that need to be fixed. And he also admitted in this exit interview that he was able to bond more with his teammates, and that seemed like a really, really big deal to him, because for whatever reason, I never said it, but I saw a lot of other people in the comment section saying it, that it seems like the team doesn't like Bennedict Mathurin. And to me, I was just like, I don't get that vibe, but some people picked up on it where I didn't. And, you know, he was coming out and just saying, like, you know, I'm trying to be a better teammate. He started baking, you know what I'm saying? He started doing baking, bringing in cookies and all this other stuff, cinnamon rolls and all this other stuff like that, which has really apparently helped his chemistry with teammates, where it's like, you know, he's being a good teammate now, whereas I feel like maybe him bringing this up, he realizes maybe in his first 2 years he wasn't being a good teammate, which is also a plus for us as Pacers fans, because Bennedict Mathurin also does have really weird shot selection and he doesn't pass very often. So the idea that he's not, like, hijacking the offense anymore is a benefit as well. Same thing with Andrew Nembhard. You know, I made a bunch of videos talking about Andrew Nembhard, where I even made a video to go as far as saying Andrew Nembhard is trash because he hijacks the fucking offense, and then, you know, we get 3 or 4 possessions where he tries to be Michael Jordan and it doesn't work out. He grew a lot in the playoffs, and Andrew Nembhard's another guy where it seems like he realized very quickly after a couple regular season games of trying to take over the offense that, maybe, you can do that once in a while, but you can't do it for 4 or 5 possessions straight and, cost us maybe a 6-0 run and then end up in turn costing us the game because you decided to try to hijack the offense. This team in little increments are growing and growing and growing. So I will say that I really like that. But in the end of this video, I just want to say this. There's 2 guys in free agency that, well, one guy in free agency that I'd like to sign and another guy I'd like to trade for. If we could do a sign and trade with Jalen Smith for a guy like Robert Williams, you know what I'm saying? Robert Williams III of the Portland Trailblazers, I think he would be a phenomenal pickup for the Pacers. He's young. He runs the floor. He plays defense on the perimeter and inside. He dunks. He blocks. He rebounds, which is something we really need. And he's also a very, very good switch defender for a guy who plays the center position. He's a guy that I feel like being added to our team would automatically make us better. And there's another guy in free agency that I'd like to see us pursue, considering Doug McDermott is probably gone. And that person is Malik Monk. Malik Monk is a guy that I think would fit into our system flawlessly. He spent a lot of time in Sacramento playing under Mike Brown, I believe I'm correct or not. They just re-signed him to a 3-year extension in Sacramento. But you do not play for Mike Brown unless you emphasize defense to some extent. He's a defensive head coach, but they've been running a very up-tempo offense the past couple of years. But Malik Monk is a guy that fits the Buddy Hield mold very well, and he's younger than Buddy Hield. He's very athletic. He can shoot the 3. He can shoot the 3 in transition, and he's athletic enough to dunk the ball. And I also think there's some defensive upside to him that has not been untapped yet, untapped potential in that department. The 2 main guys that I would really like to see us pursue are those 2 guys. Robert Williams in a sign and trade maybe with Jalen Smith, or, try to find some way to trade for Robert Williams. Even if you have to trade Obi Toppin, fuck it, you have to trade Obi Toppin. But, Robert Williams is a guy that I would really, really like to see the team try to pick up. And the next guy is Malik Monk. I saw somebody in my last video where I made 20 plus players for the Indiana Pacers to pursue. A lot of people were talking about Tari Eason. And Tari Eason's a very, very good player. It's just I don't know if we have the assets to actually trade for him. Tari Eason would be a phenomenal pickup. And he's only getting paid $3 million a year. But, that's a guy, who knows? That's a guy you can maybe ship a 2nd-round pick for or a 1st-round pick for, depending on how fed up the Houston Rockets are with him, and get him on the Pacers roster. I think he'd be a great 3-and-D type of player, a great 2-way player. He can run the floor. He's 6'8". I believe he's a lefty as well. He's a guy that I could also see us going after. Steven Adams is a guy I really like too. We need help on the offensive rebounding side of things, and Steven Adams is a guy that could maybe provide, at least remedy that issue in the rebounding department a little bit. But, I don't want to get too crazy with, guys that I want signed, guys I want traded for and stuff like that. I don't want to get into that because I already made a video about that. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk about this because I feel like a lot of the fan base is divided on a lot of things. I think we keep Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin's a guy who I think is going to have a phenomenal 3rd year. I think he's going to have a really, really big breakout year for the 3rd year. He did address that his scoring was down in the exit interview, but he said he feels like his efficiency got better. And also, I think sitting on the bench during the playoffs, he realized that, oh, fuck, I have to play defense if we want to get back here. And I think that was a real wake-up call to him. I feel like the entire playoff run for Benedict Mathurin finally, put it in his head that, wow, the regular season, no defense is played, but once you get into the playoffs, suddenly, teams are locking shit the fuck down. The Knicks do it. The Celtics do it. Okay? The Bucks do it. Every team does it. And I think Benedict Mathurin finally realized that if he wants this team to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think everybody on the team realized that as well. If they want to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, they are, for a fact, going to have to learn to play defense. And they're going to have to get somebody defensive-minded in there. I've wanted Frank Vogel. Some people are talking about bringing back Nate McMillan as an assistant coach for defense. Personally, I want Frank Vogel or Dan Burke. If you can bring back Dan Burke, I would be fucking thrilled. I don't think that's going to happen, being that the Dallas Mavericks are now in the NBA Finals. But, hey, a guy can wish, right? So anyway, that's it. I'm sorry this video is pushing 25 minutes long, but I just wanted to talk about all of these things because I feel like it's a lot of things that need to be addressed. And you know, I wanted to talk about it. Maybe get people talking about these things because I feel like, you know, like I try to make content on, you know, what are I think the best interest of the team is, not just, you know, oh, I like this player so we can't get rid of him. I'm not one of those guys. You know, if I feel like there's somebody better out there, then you should go for it. But as far as Bennedict Mathurin as well, this is something I also wanted to throw out there real quick, and then this is the end of the video. Bennedict Mathurin is extension eligible, I think, after next year. I could be wrong, don't quote me on it, but I'm almost pretty positive that Bennedict Mathurin is almost extension eligible. Hold on, I'll find out for a minute, but I do know he has a team option for this upcoming year. So Bennedict Mathurin has a team option coming up for this upcoming year and the following year. But the thing is, in 2026, 2027, Bennedict Mathurin, actually after this upcoming season, the next year after that, he is extension eligible. And if that's the case, my opinion is this, okay? Even if you trade Bennedict Mathurin for a Paul George, a Mikal Bridges, a Brandon Ingram, an OG Anunoby, you know, any of these guys, a Jimmy Butler, you will not be able to, like, I just think with Bennedict Mathurin, you're going to be able to sign him to a bigger extension and, you know, you'd be getting a younger player than trading him for a guy that's, like, on their last legs. Like, I'm at that point now where I'm like, yeah, I'd love to have Paul George back, but I don't want to give up Bennedict Mathurin for it. Or Jarris Walker, for that matter. You know, same thing with Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram, you know, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. Like, yes, I understand that fans want these players, but Bennedict Mathurin's a guy that I think if you just give him a fucking chance, I think, like, we all know what he can be capable of. And I think in the next 2 years, we're gonna see that. And I think this team's going to be back in the Eastern Conference Finals quicker than a lot of you think. Even quicker than I thought initially. You know, I think this is a team that's going to make some sneaky move, like one really good sneaky move in the offseason, and we're going to be back. So tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.